Hi, I'm Mark Bailey from Meetings Club. Welcome back to the Meetings Club channel. Well, today I wanted to take a look at what happens after a conference or event is finished and all the delegates have gone home. Is that it until next year? Or as event organisers, should we be doing much more as part of the after-event follow-up with delegates, speakers, and of course the venue? I had the pleasure of interviewing Dinah Liversidge on this important subject. Dinah's a coach, trainer, motivational speaker and former international event manager for a major pharmaceutical company. I started off, first of all, by asking Dinah what constitutes a good conference, meeting or event in many people's eyes.
Great question, Mark. I have to say, I often used to say that you always know you've had a great event when nobody's died of food poisoning and we've all gone home on speaking terms. But, you know, joking aside, I personally feel the sign of a really successful event is when people are asking you, when's the next one, before you've started thinking about it. So they have got so much out of it, they've enjoyed it so much, it's felt like one of those must-attend events. And before you're even putting it in the diary, they want to know. Because to me, that's what we do it for.
So after the dust has settled, everybody's gone, they've left, they've gone back to their offices, they've travelled around the world. How do you think, what would you suggest people do as a follow-up? Because obviously that's really important.
It is important. And you know, this is an area which, during my experience as an event manager, which was over 14 years, this is the area I would say I grew the most in. You know, that first year I really got home thinking, phew, nobody died, isn't that great? But by year 3, I had begun to realise it is the follow-up that impacts not just your attendees, but the venues where you organise these things, the speakers who do or don't want to speak for you again, and the genuine level of return, whatever that is for you. For some businesses, that's going to be purely financial. Did we make sales? Did we get future custom? For some of us, that's about, have I engaged with people? Do they listen to my message now? For some, that's real education. Have people gone home with something practical that they can do and that's going to therefore make a difference to their daily work? And the follow-up for every single reason is critical to that. So my key learning was in that area. Follow up, then follow up again, and then follow up with all the people you forgot to follow up with.
So if you take the delegates first of all, in terms of the follow-up, what sort of tips, what sort of things did you do? You obviously sort of contacted them afterwards, but was that simply it, or was there more?
No, here's my big tip. If you are organising an event and you have gone to the trouble of asking your delegates to give you feedback, do something with it. And when you've done something with it, let them know what you did. Here's an example.
Okay.
You've given them a form and you've said, what did you most enjoy about the venue? What could they do better next time? Somebody's gone to the trouble to tell you that they thought the food was wonderful and clearly the waiting staff was superb, but they feel the hotel was let down by the people who met them on reception. Now, I've gone to the trouble of creating this form, whether it's electronic or paper. I've now read the feedback. First thing I'm going to do is contact the hotel, tell them the feedback, give them the chance to do it better next time. Because if we don't give them the feedback, they don't know they got it wrong. The next thing I'm going to do is contact the delegate who filled in that form and say, thank you for taking the time to do this. This is what I did about it. And this is the hotel's feedback. Now, I've had situations where I've done that, where the hotel have said, we would like the opportunity to tell this delegate how grateful we were for their feedback. So I've asked that delegate for permission. May I give your details to the hotel? And that's gone on to a situation where that delegate has gone back and booked a meeting themselves because they were so impressed by the way things were put right. You know, they say you only get one chance to make a great first impression. I've always believed if you get it wrong and then you put it right, you create a loyal customer.
Very much a customer for life.
Totally.
So in terms of the actual follow-up with delegates, there's a lot of information, presumably, which can be sent drip-fed over a period of time via email, social media. What would you suggest people do there?
One of my favourite things that I saw happening, gosh, years ago, and it's almost like we all did it so well we stopped doing it. But I saw a couple of people doing it recently at an event. Get people to tell you what they loved about the event while they're still at it. So little short videos, 30 seconds to a minute after they've come out of a speaker. What did you love about that speaker? What are your takeaways from this session? You're going to be able to please a lot of people with that. And if you use that post-event, several things happen. Firstly, the person who says it reconnects with what they got that day, and it kind of reignites that for them. And let's face it, when real life kicks in once we're back in the office, that's easily forgotten. So that's important. The second thing it does is that speaker gets to hear themselves being spoken about. Gosh, look, I made a difference to someone. Isn't that wonderful? And of course, as the event organizer, you contact that speaker and say, I have a beautiful video testimonial. Would you like it for your site? Because we all know lots of speakers out there don't get paid to speak at events, but they do get the promise from those of us organising the events, oh, I'll make sure we talk about what you do, I'll promote your book or tell them about your website. Well, there's no better way to do that than after an event. Let that speaker know they still matter to you. And by the way, on that topic, the day after the event, folks, don't leave it. Don't wait until you're already busy on the next one. Thank your speakers. And that means a personal handwritten letter or card to their business address, not a quick email. And of course, write them a testimonial, or better still, do them a quick video testimonial that they can use wherever they like, because that is how they make sure they want to come back to you.
Now rumour has it that you had a major event with international delegates and you personally wrote to every single person. Now, is that true?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
How?
Well, I think that kind of level of support makes us stand out as event organisers. And let me explain why that's important. There are events that stand out in everybody's memories, and usually the things that stand out for them are two things. The things that went exceptionally well, you know what's coming, and the things that went exceptionally poorly or badly, or as they perceived it, not right for them. I was very lucky in my role as an international event manager. I was once told that one of our key delegates had refused to go to a key event because he heard I wasn't organising it. And I had to contact him personally and say, look, it's a great member of the team, they'll look after you. And he just wouldn't have it. And he said, you don't see, I've travelled all over the world for 20 years. I know that when I'm at one of your events and being looked after, everything's going to go the way I want it to. Why should I waste my time with any others? Now that's a huge compliment, but trust me, it wasn't my sheer charm and good looks that caused that reaction. It was really hard work at the detail. And little detail like saying, here's a letter from me thanking you for attending, for taking the time to let us know what you thought, and for the contribution you personally made, you're going to want to come back.
We're talking here really about celebrating success, though, just as much as the negative. Do we actually celebrate success and what went well? Or are we so fixated with what didn't go well? Because it's important to get a balance.
I love that you've asked that question. I do think a really top tip for event organisers is at the end of your event, before you start that meeting where you're going to dissect everything, go out and celebrate it. Go out and say, look what we did. Wasn't that wonderful? Wasn't it remarkable? Wasn't it hard work? Don't we all feel knackered? Yeah, but go out and enjoy it together. And you're absolutely right. Let's celebrate the things that went really well and tell our delegates and speakers about it, because they want to hear about it too before they hear about your next event plans. There is this sense, and I think we do this a lot with meetings, it's easy to flow from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And we forget that the individuals involved at each one of those need to enjoy that moment because they've worked jolly hard for it.
Now, you're a great fan of social media.
Yes.
And that's really a good way to maintain what we're talking about here, which is relationships, be with their customers, suppliers, partners, whoever it might happen to be. Any success that you've had with using social media once the delegates have left and returned to their work environment?
Yes, and I can think of a few people who do this really well. One of them, of course, is Lucy Brazier and her team at Executive Secretary. They have a series of events throughout the year in different countries, and they use a hashtag that applies whichever country they're in. Now, the great thing about that is, as a new attendee, having never been before, for example, we're not far away now from going to New Zealand this year, people who are interested, who are thinking about attending, can have a look at that hashtag and say, well, what did people who've been before get out of this? What did they say? And the first thing that strikes me when I look at that hashtag is this isn't just social media chat anymore. This is a community. And of course, they do it extremely well. They really support each other. As soon as the hashtag appears, people who are involved are keen to share it. People, because it's an authentic, credible group of people, want to be seen to be sharing it. And so it kind of feeds itself in a really positive way. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense, as it always does. I just want to know: are you really looking forward to your trip down under? What can people over there expect?
I really can't wait. Honestly, it's the most amazing lineup of speakers, and to be part of any event when you're lucky enough to be asked to speak, it feels like an enormous privilege for me. I can only speak obviously for myself, but it feels like an enormous privilege. We tend to put ourselves out there and put a lot of effort into the prep, and to watch on social media that buzz that builds because the organisers understood, hey, I can create something here, that feeling of being part of something before we've even met and of keeping it afterwards, very exciting. So I feel like I've already got people I know out there that I'm going to connect with.
Do you think it actually helps, the fact that you've been on both sides? You've been the organizer, the planner, and then you've turned tables and you're on the stage and it's your content. So you've seen it from both perspectives here.
I hope you'd have to ask people I've spoken for and kind of the AV teams and people behind the scenes. But I hope what it's done is allowed me to appreciate the effort that goes in, and also how important it is as a speaker to not be a turner-upper, if you know what I mean by that. Yeah. And we've all seen them. They'll turn up 20 minutes before their presentation and they'll leave very quickly afterwards. I think they're missing out on something quite magical, and I feel quite sorry for them. Because when our egos take over as speakers, we lose why we started doing this in the first place. And for me, being asked, being privileged enough to stand up and share stories, which is what it's all about, that allow us to say to each other, you know, when we work together, us humans can be pretty remarkable, can't we? I think that's exceptionally exciting. And the buzz you get if you're there from the morning of the event, or even for the 2 or 3 days of an event, hearing what everyone else has to say, getting to hear those stories and meet the people involved in the audience. Gosh, I mean, honestly, I still have to pinch myself, Mark. I can't believe I get to do it.
I love that. You've still got to pinch yourself. It is happening. It is true. Yeah. So just before you rush off, what about one last tip for any EA, assistant, PA, event manager, a top tip for once the dust has settled and people have gone home? What would you say you must do, the one thing?
My top tip for that would be to acknowledge to yourself what you have achieved. We are very dismissive because we're naturally in an environment where we're looking after other people, we're putting everyone else first. It's very easy to say, oh, it was just the organising that I did. I would give you every encouragement to say, I organised that amazing event. Not one of those speakers who changed things for people could have done that without me. So my top tip is take a day, take a deep breath and acknowledge what you do, because it is remarkable.
Thank you, Dinah, so much for your time, for those top tips. Thank you for joining us on the Meetings Club channel.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
And if you'd like to find out more about Dinah's exciting work, I recommend check out her website, DinahLiversidge.com, and there's lots of top tips, lots of advice. It's a great read. So thanks very much indeed for watching the Meetings Club channel.